Hello, everybody, and welcome to episode 20 of Rise Up, the podcast. We are back with your two favorite hosts, Greg Grenlian and Scotty Rogers. Fellas, we have a fantastic episode in store today. So much going on in the world of lacrosse with college lacrosse, PLL, and we have a fantastic interview coming up with Mitchell Pehlke, member of Ohio State, and he's been crushing it in the content creation game for his personal brand, for the lacrosse world. It's been awesome to see. Can't wait to talk to him about that. But fellas, before we get into anything else, talk to me. How's your lives? How we doing?
It's got 36th birthday celebrated. Becca, my girl, threw a nice party at my favorite restaurant, Sammy's. It was, I'll tell you, it started nice, ended messy. 65-year-old waitresses on my lap. Four bottles of vino probably to myself, and then working at camp the next day at 9 a.m. That hits differently now than it used to. So I'm okay. I came out the other side. 36 is off to a pretty Scotty start. Yeah.
What does a Scotty start mean?
That's
exactly why
every birthday from 21 to 36 is gone. So I think growth is not at an all-time high, but we are. You don't have to. If it ain't broke, don't fix it. You know what I'm saying?
That's exactly why I FaceTimed you at the birthday party.
Yes.
I was like, if I go to this dinner, man, I'm not going to be in good shape the next day.
Hey, the best part.
I go down a few times a year to work with navies.
Holman shows up, and he's like, Scotty, listen, bro. It's gonna be like nice and calm, right? I'm like, yeah, like all adults. First drink, Marcus gets a Casamigos and soda. I'm like, all right, there's one. I'm like, I thought we were going lean. Don't put this on me. I feel like everybody puts it on me. Like, Scotty, it's going to be calm. Scotty, we're going to be hit. I didn't make you do that. And then all of a sudden, we're flowing. And now we're laughing. Now we're telling stories from Ohio. And bang. Now we're done,
Yep. That's why I wasn't going out, because I knew that was going to turn into quite an evening. And you got work the next day, man. And I'm not going to Navy to see Coach Amplo at 8 a.m. banged up. Nope.
I agree with that.
Tell me about your weekend, Greg. How you been?
Great, man. I work closely with Navy's coaching staff, so I go down like 6 times a year, run a face-off clinic there, and I work with the staff, help them break film down and stuff. And I always love it, man. I love working with those guys. It's obviously an honor just being on that campus, being at the Naval Academy. But good weekend. Re-signed a deal with East Coast Dyes, so we're going to be starting to work on the next project. Very excited about that. And I've been with those guys my whole pro career, back when they were just bros making wax mesh out of their basement. So it's amazing to see what they've done so far. So, fired up for this, man. Fired up to talk to Pehlke, fired up to talk about sixes and everything with you guys.
Hell yeah. That's awesome for both of you. Congrats on that deal, Greg and Scotty. Very happy 36th birthday. Fellas, I just had an unbelievable Italian dinner meal with my parents in New York City at this place called Arthur & Sons. I've never been. Got like the spicy rigatoni, got the chicken parm. It was fantastic. My mom, she's a school teacher, so this is her like February vacation week. So she decided to come down. My pops took off work, and they're doing all like the touristy stuff. But stopped by, got some dinner, got a free meal out of it. I'll never say no to a free dinner.
I'm sure Papa Sibes, he's out there carbing up because he's got marathons to run.
Oh, and he's off the booze right now. Listen to this. You guys will crack up. I told you my dad's crazy. Every year he goes sober from January 1 until St. Patrick's Day, and me and my dad go down to Florida St. Patrick's Day weekend every year and go play in a golf trip, play like 72 holes of golf and rip it up a little bit.
What an awesome tradition to do with your kid.
Pretty cool.
That is so awesome. I don't like drinking, so I'm going to have to come up with something cool to do with Jax when he's old enough.
Yeah, me and my dad do.
Maybe I'll just take him to Vegas, Scotty.
We could do that. Me and my dad, he hops on my back. I do a couple calf raises. That's our tradition. It's pretty easy.
Fellas, I've had an awesome 2 weeks. I've done the color commentating for the past 2 Villanova games. Got some great advice from Kark. I hope I put it to use, but had a big win for Villanova week 1 over Greg's Nittany Lions. It was an awesome game to be at, awesome game to commentate. And then last week, Villanova took it on the chin a little bit against Yale. We'll get into the college breakdowns a little bit later. But I'll tell you what, boys, the tailgates aren't as fun after the team loses. Usually I like to grab a couple sodas with the parents afterwards. I had to move my train up early last Sunday, get out of there quick.
Yeah, it's not the same feel at all.
Listen, it's watching this college lacrosse season unfold a little bit, because you guys have made me watch college lacrosse. So now that I'm watching, it is it's very on brand that it's the same. I kind of feel like it's the same when we play, Greg. Like the usual suspects are they're going to take lumps that probably we don't expect them to take, but they're also figuring out their identity a little bit. So for me, it's like watching Duke and watching UNC, watching these teams kind of figure it out, right? I think UNC's in this underdog role, so watching them kind of beat Hopkins was nice after Hopkins had a good win. But like watching these guys all figure it out, I think the good teams don't take stock in this first 3 or 4 games. I honestly feel like they're trying to figure out lines. Yeah. Who's going to be the first line, second line, third line? Who's gelling? Who's figuring it out? I'm watching that every week. I feel like Maryland's a prime example. That's going to be a different team in May, right? They're figuring out who Daniel Kelly came out the other day and just crushed it, right? That's a guy that wasn't on the radar last year. They're figuring out new faces. I just like this part of the season.
Yeah, you never know what's going to happen. I will say this is my first college lacrosse season on DraftKings, and they are going to boot me off that platform soon.
I feel like
we're stealing money right now.
Like gambling, Gamblers Anonymous.
Man, like a couple.
Sibes, I'm going to send you. I'm going to send you my parlays. I am shit kicking DraftKings.
I feel like I've been like, for example, we'll get into the college breakdown a little bit later, but. I mean, that backdoor cover from Harvard against I turned the UVA Harvard game off at halftime and counted my money already. And Harvard storms back and backdoors. I'm out and I'm like, someone goes, Harvard came back. I was like, you got to be kidding me.
What was the final? What was the final? We'll get into it more deep.
25-21 and 75-12.
25. Hey, we'll get into the college breakdown a little bit later. Before we get into this interview with Pehlke, I just want to give a quick shout out to our sponsors before we forget our wonderful sponsors. The new sponsor from the other day, Hot Shot. Use promo code TORCH20. Hot Shot is a pre-workout drink used to prevent cramping and prevent muscle soreness. It's backed scientifically proven to block your neurotransmitters from what causes cramps. We mentioned Petey Seibel. He's a believer. He uses it. And then our other sponsor, as always, Rowback. We are always decked out in our Rowback gear. Scotty wears that hoodie all the time. I wear that hoodie all the time. I already packed my clothes for work tomorrow. I got my Rowback golf shirt in my work bag, ready to rock. And last and not least, obviously, we got to shout out Face Off Academy and 42 Performance. These two guys I'm on the podcast with are always out here grinding. Follow their Instagrams. Check out what work they're putting in. Scotty's always drilling these goalies up, and Greg is, like he mentioned, what he's doing down at Navy. He's always teaching the newest, we can get into the rules, but the newest variations and how to make these face-off guys the best that they can be. So shout out to all those sponsors. And without further ado, I'd like to turn it over to our interview with Mitch Pehlke. A very special welcome to the podcast, Mitchell Pehlke out of the Ohio State University. Mitchell, thank you so much for coming on the podcast. For those of you who do not know him, he is a midfielder attackman for Ohio State. He's been balling out there this season for OSU, but he's also a big content creator in the lacrosse world and has really done a great job building his personal brand. So, Mitchell, I first kind of found you because I went to Villanova, and when we were recruiting Stelios, we all kind of tuned into his stuff. And then I think just by like clicking on, YouTube suggested, you came up, and I remember the first video I watched was like you in high school at the Lake Placid camp, and I was like, oh, this stuff is pretty fucking cool. So I've been kind of following you from afar for a while. It's been awesome to kind of see you grow as a player and see your kind of content grow. So kind of going back to that, video I saw at Lake Placid, how did you, first get into this? What was the start like? Did you always know this was something you wanted to do, or is this kind of natural?
Yeah, so first off, thanks for having me on tonight. It's type of stuff means the world to me to sit down with two legends. But yeah, it all started with like, I think I'm 22 right now. Like I'm the first generation to, come home instead of watching TV, we were on our phones, watching YouTube. And I always loved like different YouTubers growing up. And I just love like the aspect of going through your day and recording it and putting it up on social media. And it kind of just took my Italian mom to just like sit there and like ball bust me and be like, yeah, you got to do this. Like lacrosse is in your life. Like, what are you going to do, if you're on a date with a girl and you're just talking about lacrosse, she's going to walk out. Because my dad was a legend at UVA back in the day. So like I grew up just thinking about college lacrosse. And it all started with like me and my buddy. That was our first video. It was called Pehlke and Buck Barber. My boys, Evan Buckley, we call him Buck. And I gave him a terrible haircut. And like that was the video. Totally bust him up. It was still on my channel today. It's one of the funniest videos on my channel. And that was kind of it. Then roles reversed. He gave me a haircut. That's actually what started this haircut. And that was in 2016. And then the videos just kept evolving from there. High school vlogs, more haircut videos, and obviously incorporating lacrosse in high school. And then obviously, what I'm doing now at Ohio State with the student body, the sport, being a Division I athlete and everything. So it's been surreal. And I never would have thought I would have got this far, but I really can't see myself going a day without creating content.
Mitch,
it's interesting because Scotty, you have this one. Go ahead.
I got it. Mitch said something about his Italian mom, and I got the same thing going on. So I think that as an older guy doing outrageous shit, like my mom kind of gave me that confidence. Also, like she speaks her mind. She's loud. She's a Long Island Italian, which is a little different, but she's obnoxious. Yep. So I'm obnoxious by just being related to her. But also, does that like kind of sense of family, right? That support. Could we talk about like how they helped you kind of, I know how stressful it is to play at a high level. And also there's a stress of good content, right? Good content's hard to come by. I know you're probably a critic of yourself, your harshest critic. I try to be. I don't have a filter sometimes, but you do some good shit. Does that reassurance from home, like that family environment, is that important?
Yeah, no, it definitely does. So mom's obviously Italian. My dad's German. They actually got divorced back in 2012. But both sides, like my mom's total up front, like all ball busting, like, it's just like typical mom Italian. But then on my dad, he's very similar on the other side. It was actually his birthday this Friday. I sent him a card in the mail today, and I was just on the card I wrote just like how thankful I am to be his son, right? And, I still remember the day, he saw how passionate I was about creating content on social media and bought me like the nicest editing software. And that was like a year into it. I was like, wow, like I was so happy that my dad was so invested in something I did other than lacrosse. And like at that time, I was so interesting to me. So I always like take two sides of it. Like I got everything, like I got my looks and my athletic ability from my dad, but I got everything internally and ball busting from my mom. Like me and my roommates were driving home from Chipotle today. And they're like, dude, I will never step foot in the car with you again. It's just like, I don't know. I feel like it's an Italian thing. We just got to like, no patience for anything. But that's a good question. I like that, Scotty.
Yeah.
I actually have two questions because Scotty and I both experienced this when we were playing professionally before social media was really just, before there were, quote unquote influencers. It was more about putting yourself out there as just a media tool as advertisement. So when the Face Off Academy started in 2012, for the first time as an athlete, I'm putting myself out there saying, you should come train with me because I'm good at this. It put a target on my back immediately, not just from my teammates who were busting my balls constantly about any video I posted, but also everybody you play against is like dying for you to screw up so they can give you shit about you thinking that you're better than you really are. So can you talk on like that kind of pressure that it comes with putting yourself out there?
Yo, because in the college game, dude, I know those guys in the sideline, they say some crazy shit.
It is the worst. But it's like funny now that I'm playing, but I don't know, the sport of lacrosse, it's the most. Like I don't know what it is, but social media and lacrosse like doesn't go together. Yeah. Like you look at like the best lacrosse players out there that like don't take their brand seriously, like they don't post. Like Jeff Teat, like Chris Gray, like
Tommy Schreiber's like a robot cyborg. He doesn't talk on social media.
And I hate that mantra about it. Like for some reason, it's always been that way.
Yeah.
It's also a Canadian thing. I will say Canadians hate.
Yeah, they hate social media.
They're like 20 years behind us.
Scotty, lean into your mic, man.
You know what I mean?
Yeah,
lean into the mic.
I like that. No, it's so true though. But kind of going off the pressure part, like I think when I came up, there wasn't a lot of pressure because one, like I was making content like the lacrosse community enjoyed, and like a lot of it was high school vlogs and me and my boys just messing around. So like other people thought it was funny, and I think it's different. Like if I would have come up and make cringy content, then I would have got made fun of it and different things like that. But I think since people that were watching my content enjoyed it, like there was really no like, what am I going to say if I'm laughing at his content? Right. But obviously the game got elevated more when I'm at obviously a big school at Ohio State, and the chirps obviously started flowing into students. I started playing in games, and that type of stuff will never stop. But I take a step back and I'm like, all right, you're not doing anything unless you're getting hate, and that's really how I look at it. And like the little chirps they say is nothing like that's going to ever get to me. Just little dumb things.
Yeah, it's good though.
But it's good pressure, I think, right? I think, I know whenever I'm out in the field, like they know number 25 at Ohio State. Like they know it's the YouTuber, the guy on social media. And like, I just got to take it for what it's worth.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I say that too, because we have Tyler Sandoval working for the FOA.
Okay. Yeah.
He's coming up too. He's gaining a following. And, I'm talking to him every week about that, about, hey, look, man, like you put yourself out there, especially in this sport, because we have to. Right. If I was playing basketball and I was going pro playing basketball, I wouldn't have to do social media.
Yeah.
I'm making millions of dollars. But this is a career that you're trying to build. And I said, nobody making fun of you is going to affect your mortgage payment. Yeah. So if you're going out there and you're putting yourself out there, nothing anyone can say can affect it.
Yeah.
Now, the other question I have, because I give Coach Myers a ton of credit for embracing this thing. And I think – we're running into this a lot, especially in this day and age with rules and all that stuff with the old guard of lacrosse and the new guard, where some coaches are able to be more malleable about this stuff and some are just on a pedestal, just hating everything that's not old school.
Yeah.
Talk about Coach Myers and how Ohio State's been able to support you in this venture.
Yeah. So I got to give, a lot of my credit to Coach Myers. Like, a lot of people don't know this, but I was obviously creating content from my freshman year to my senior year of high school, selling merchandise, doing everything, making money. But as soon as I stepped on campus in August of 2019, I had to demonetize my whole YouTube channel. I couldn't talk about being a D1 athlete or lacrosse in general. And so for those first 2 years of my freshman and sophomore year at Ohio State, me and him were always in constant communication. Me, him, and our compliance contact, Danny, we're just always in constant communication about videos because there was such like a tight-knit box of like how I could create content. So we definitely had our ups and downs there, but when NIL opened, like it just gave us this huge room to just create freely. And that helped out on both parties. But when NIL first happened over the summer going into my junior year, when I got to campus for my junior year, we sat down and we just talked, and he was just like laid it out on the line. He's like, hey, like, I love what you're doing, but like, keep the main thing. Like, you're here to get a great education and graduate first off. You're here to play great lacrosse and win a national championship. And whatever you want that third box to be, family, faith, or content, like, have at it. But like, when the pillars start to get messed up, like, that's where I'm going to come in and start putting restrictions. And he was like, at the end of the day, what happens on and off the field, like when you're on the Buckeye lacrosse field, like, I'm going to treat you like a Buckeye lacrosse player. I don't care how much money you've made or how many followers you have. Like, if you're not picking up a two-handed ground ball the right way, like, I'm going to get on you. And you wouldn't want it any other way. And that's why I really give kudos to him. And, man, he's taught me so many life lessons. I'll forever be in debt for him.
Did he tell you about how he used to sell steaks out of the back of his truck? He used to sell.
No,
that's how he started. That's how he almost got me to be an assistant coach there. He's like, Scotty, listen, ops guys don't make much money. I started selling steaks out of the back of my truck. So
where did he get those
it's a
steaks
grind.
from?
Like meat. He was selling meat out of the back of his truck, like out of an ice bin.
Hey, Mitch, you want a video that's going to get a lot of views? Have Coach Myers tell that story.
Yeah.
He's got a lot of good stories.
I was like, I don't know if I want to be a coach, man. What are we trying to equate this to? I'm going to be broke?
Dude, all the steak you can eat if you're a coach.
Yeah, exactly.
He's eating well.
Cool,
he's
like,
eating very well.
Because, like, he started here in, like, early 2000s. I think he got the job when he was young. I think he was like 29, 30 back in like '02. And it's so cool, like how the program's obviously gotten bigger. We've obviously got more money, and now with just our new stadium this year, it's so interesting to hear alumni talk from like that '02, '03 team.
Yeah.
He's been there that long?
Yeah.
Yeah, so he was actually here when Bresci was here back around '01.
Oh, okay. So I did play against him then. Okay.
Yeah.
So you probably played against his brother Pat.
Yeah, Pat. I got to know Nick and Pat helping out with the U19 team in like 2014 or 15.
Yep.
And man, I love the Myers family.
Yeah, they're
Those
awesome.
guys are awesome dudes.
I mean, he don't fuck around, dude. He's
He's a Springfield guy, the Chief Dogs. They don't mess around.
he don't fuck
They do
around,
not.
dude.
That's one thing you learn early here. It's like the freshmen, like first couple of practices are like, what did I get myself into?
Yeah.
Being an older guy, I'm like, trust me, it definitely gets better from here. He's got a plan in place. Just follow it.
Yeah.
Or
just
it gets
stick to the
worse.
plan and definitely pick up the ground ball with two hands.
Yeah.
I'm a big one-handed ground ball guy. Even on the sideline, I'm like, put my butt down.
He's serious about the little things for sure.
Talk to me about like the expectations for the team this year. Obviously, being in that playing role, being a older guy now, right? How's that evolved for you? I know, like obviously, as being a young guy at Notre Dame, I was a bit of a knucklehead, and then when I came into that leadership role, I kind of loved it, right? I kind of turned. That's where I started to build my kind of where my identity is, who I am right now. So for me, it's like learning to lead young guys, like you said, talking to those freshmen, saying, yeah, this is how it is now, but it gets better. How has that changed for you, that journey from being a young guy that's a fun, outgoing, charismatic dude to being, you have to kind of show these guys the ropes?
Yeah. It's definitely changed a lot, right? I think just like Coach Myers always preaches as well, is like we're trying to build you as men on and off the field. And I think that's like the cool aspect too. Like I'm not coming here, just to win lacrosse games. I'm coming here to grow up as a person. So I think, that part has changed a lot, and kind of going into this year, like I haven't been this excited about a lacrosse team, I think, in my entire life. Like we have a really good squad, and just like the confidence of all the seniors and just like getting back to campus. And I still remember our first practice on August 21st, just like going at it with the guys. I was like, we got something special here. And it's just been cool to kind of be this like parent to these freshmen. I never really had this experience to be the senior to a freshman. And it's pretty interesting. Like a lot of the freshmen realize, like when they first get on campus, like I'm obviously a loud, fun guy, but like when I'm on the field, I'm silent. Like I'm thinking so much, like I'm total opposite to what I am in real life. And that's the only aspect of my life where I am silent and I got to dial in. And the freshmen are like, you don't act like this off the field. And I'm like, I know, because I got to focus so much. So I'm kind of in the role of like taking them to the side and talking them through different things instead of, busting balls in the field or yelling or this and that. But I think there's different ways to do it, right? Scotty, you're probably a guy busting balls yelling in the field, but you got to have the mixture to the guys, because obviously talking to different freshmen at that age, they need different roles.
I think everything, like I always talked about good cop, bad cop, right? Like, so, on every team, there's the guy that's the hard ass that's like, yo, if you break a 48-hour rule, I'm going to tell coach. And I was more the guy that's like, listen, if you do this once, I'll let it slide. But if you do it a second time, it's a wrap. Like I'm like pretty lenient because I'm trying to be a guy's guy, like a locker room guy. But like, how that slippery slope could go being a cool guy. And it's like when those guys take advantage, you're like, all right, a lacrosse team's 50 guys. So 50 guys, 20 actually play, 30 have a good fucking time, right? Like 30 just have a good time, have the perks, jersey, walk around campus, go to parties, and you're like the 20 guys that have to lock in, but we're all a part of the same boat. So it's like everyone's got to do the same shit, right? Like, you know what I mean?
No, it's true. And that's just something you don't realize as a freshman too, but I'd say like one good thing like about Ohio State when I don't see it a lot of other programs is like coach like really recruits after like the character of the person. And like when I came here and even on my visits, I was like, wow, like everybody's aligned here. Like there's no like guys doing their own thing. Like when we have parties or like we're doing stuff as a team, like everybody's there and it's not just like a certain grade. And I think that's like a really cool aspect as well.
Yeah. I mean, that's make or break. That's culture.
Yeah.
That is the hardest thing to instill into a college program, and he's done a hell of a job there. Changing gears a little bit, my question to you is, one, because of the blanket wave that happened in 2020, are you taking an extra year or are you going to finish up after this senior year?
I'm finishing up. Yeah. So I'll graduate here in May. And then the plans to stay at the crib and back in Virginia in the summer, continue to travel and make content, and then eventually go to New York City in October and continue to do what I'm already doing. So don't exactly know what that next step is yet, but still dabble with lacrosse and athletics as a whole.
Hey, you've been saving some of that content money, right? Because I don't want you living in a kitchenette shoebox in Manhattan for about $3,000, $4,000 a month. We got to get you living right.
No, I'll have a good
couch
squad
out
out
here.
there. I'm excited to kind of get that rolling. No, but I've definitely been saving up.
Yo, you got me thinking because I'm thinking of how I played 5 years in Ohio with the Machine, and thinking about we used to say to people, it is the undiscovered gem of a good time of a city. Like it's small, right? Like Short North.
Great.
Short North's got the best restaurants. Like people just don't know how fun Ohio Columbus is, bro.
I don't know why, and it's funny you say that because so many people say that, and everybody when they think of Ohio State, no one knows the school's like in a city. Right. People just think of Ohio like cornfields, this and that, but I'm so thankful to be at a school where if lacrosse is gone tomorrow, I would still have a blast.
Yeah.
I think you get the football obviously in the fall. I mean, you have all the nightlife from downtown to even the college to the Short North, like you said, Scotty. I think it's just there's everything here.
Yeah. We evolved that party from going out where you guys used to go when I was like a 26-year-old, and then towards the end we were me, Holman, the boys were together for 5 years. We had a good core group. Tommy, Harrison. We started hanging out with the college guys, and then I ended up hanging out with some hipsters in Short North. I'm like, well, times have changed here.
There's some strange cats in the Short North for sure.
Dude, and when we played in Columbus in the PLL in 2019, I remember the next day, me and Landis and a bunch of the Redwoods rolled into a party at the Ohio State lacrosse house with Ignacio and those guys.
Jeez.
Yo, do you know guys don't play beer pong anymore? They do dice. They flip dice on a table.
Beer die.
Yeah. Oh,
yeah, why?
You guys have been around. Don't do that.
No, that's not cool, man.
Dude, Mitch,
I was like, where are the ping pong balls? They're like,
Mitch,
no.
we had Logan Schuss, right, as our liaison for the Machine, and he couldn't get away. He couldn't get away from fucking college girls, right? So we're like, dude, some of us are 28, 29. He's like, yo, let's go to this house party. I'm like, dude, you graduated at 25. I know. I can't do that, bro.
Especially when you're in the city, you want to circle back so much. But I've talked to him a bunch. He's an awesome guy.
He's the best, right? Yeah,
he's great.
That's awesome. Now, tell us right now, I'm very high on the Buckeyes this year. I know what you guys brought in from the transfer portal. I know the core that's back. How are things looking in that locker? You guys just had a huge win over UNC. Tell me more about what you guys are aiming to do this year. I want to get you out on that. I didn't want to leave that out.
No, absolutely. Yeah. No, like I said in the beginning, I'm super confident about, the squad this year. We got, 20 guys graduating. And all those 20 guys, I'm best friends with. And I think it's awesome to be a part of a group, like I said, that's so tight knit and everybody is friends and wants to achieve the best for each other, right? And I think for this year, we have something special. You could just tell, one, there was a lot of talk, a lot of smoke about us just because, the new stadium and obviously people care about, we call that the eye candy. But, I don't know. I just think Ohio State, you look traditionally, we've never been a school that people always are thinking about. Right. And I think, this year we're trying to really prove something. And, like you said, we just came off a great win against UNC. And I think, it was a good confidence builder for us headed in, to this real stretch where we have UVA, Cornell, then Notre Dame, kind of 3 games in a row. So it'll be great. And I just I wouldn't rather go to battle with any other guys than the guys on our squad.
Mitch, talking about that Ohio State Notre Dame game, right? I know we used to, as a Notre Dame guy, we played in the Great Western League back in the day.
Yeah, the Great West?
The GWIL. But they had Joel Del Guarno and Kevin Buchanan, and they were always good, right?
Yeah.
It was sick. Schroeder was the goalie. But we used to get up. It didn't matter if we were ranked, you were ranked. It was still that, you almost felt like that football.
Yeah.
Almost like that football. That's
it's
still Ohio
so gritty.
State. That's still Notre
Dame.
Dame.
That. It's last year we actually played you guys, and I remember we played you guys in March, and the only day of the month we played you guys, it was 7 degrees out in Ohio. We're like, oh god, and we ended up, I think, winning by a couple goals. But no, it goes back we beat you guys. We actually beat you guys the last 4 times
Yeah.
And the fourth time was in overtime.
Yeah.
But I don't know. It's just like this unspoken rivalry that's like internally, like it's obviously people on the outside don't really realize, but I think it's just two gritty teams like going together, and like obviously both coaches are so passionate and outgoing about their program. So like that's always cool to see.
Coach Corrigan's wild, bro. Yeah, Coach Corrigan will kick cones and shit. He's up there, bro.
Yeah, so it's cool just to like see two coaches like that, and like I don't know, guys that care about their squad is so interesting to me.
You know what I think it is, though, before I let you go? I think it's back to what you talked about with Coach Myers being there since 2002. He's been there for almost 20 plus years. Coach Corrigan's been there since the beginning. He built Notre Dame up. So he's been there from when they were a club team to where they've been. I mean, there's a lot of pride. Those guys built that shit from the ground up. So, like, when they go to battle, it's like, who runs the Midwest? That's what I feel like they're saying, you know?
Yeah.
I mean, plus you guys were in that Great Western Conference together. That rivalry goes back, man.
Yeah. So it's awesome. I think it's great for the game. Nobody really talks about it. Yeah.
Yeah, no doubt. The Notre Dame guys are up here in the fall because we played Notre Dame in football. And it was just good to see them. We know a bunch of them, obviously. Yeah. I think that's like one of the cool things about lacrosse, too. It's like on the field, this and that, but like off the field, you know, everyone's just like friends and talking. Like
off the field, the beers are still the beers, and the guys are still the guys. Yes, it is.
Mitch, before we let you go, can you just give everybody who's listening your social handles real quick so that they know where they can find you, man?
Yeah, absolutely. Subscribe to my YouTube channel. Just my name, Mitchell Pehlke, along with TikTok, Instagram, and maybe book a cameo. Give you a happy birthday shout out. Buy some merch too, MitchellPehlke.com.
MitchellPehlke.com, get your merch.
This guy, dude. Mitchell,
he's got a pleasure, brother. Yo, man. Well, thanks a lot for coming on, brother. Good luck the rest of the season. Good luck with everything you're doing. If we could ever be of any help, please let us know.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you, guys. Probably see you guys this summer, some lacrosse event, but just want to say thanks again for the opportunity.
Absolutely, brother.
Fellas, welcome back from that interview with Mitch Pehlke. Man, he's great. I'm cheering on OSU this year. He's just, got such a good head on his shoulders. The stuff he's doing, putting himself out there, and he's doing it, with class. And I'm rooting for that kid. He's awesome.
Yeah, he hit the nail on the head too. Like if no one's talking shit, then no one talks shit to people who suck at stuff.
Yeah, absolutely.
Listen, he found a glitch in the system of a broke college kid. He's not broke and he's making money. It's like, hey. Fuck, I mean, I would be jealous of him too if I'm walking around with $100 in my pocket. He's got about $2,000 in his pocket. It's a little different.
I am jealous.
$100 in your pocket in college, you can rule the day.
Yeah.
Well, we got an action-packed episode left for you guys. We got some stuff to talk about with news and updates of the PLL. Then we'll get into a little bit of some things that have happened so far this college season and what's upcoming. But first off, with the PLL, a few stories that we haven't touched upon since last talking to you guys. One was Brian Holman was named coach of the Cannons. And I know that there's been some other little murmurs about who's like kind of taking over for the Sixes tournament, but nothing set in stone. But yeah, congratulations to Coach Holman. He was the builder of that Utah program, so great to see him land this role in the PLL.
Well, I could tell you just based on being very good friends with Marcus, he created a great son. The guy's, he's a good leader of men. He knows how to make men. Marcus is one of the examples that I could go off of. That's his own kid. So, I watched him build that program at Utah. They did it the right way. Everywhere he's gone has been class. So, I think that's important, especially with the egos that go in this league, right? Sometimes we need to be humbled, I think. Sometimes a coach I don't need a friend. Like we've talked about in earlier episodes. I don't want a friend. I need a guy that's going to tell me to shut the fuck up. And we got a job to do, and it's a business. And I think Coach Holman is that guy.
I give you that speech every time before we get on the air.
I know you do.
No, I agree. I think you'd be hard pressed to find someone in this sport who doesn't respect the hell out of Brian Holman. I actually remember when we were in Israel, we won the gold medal game. We found a bar in Netanya. And we go back to it for the post game, and I ended up sitting there with Marcus's dad for like 45 minutes talking about lacrosse.
Yeah.
And I was in heaven.
He gets on.
Yeah, the
He's
guy's
good.
the best. So I think he will get it. He'll get respect immediately, and he'll respect the players too, which like we talk about all the time. The defining factor for your success as a professional lacrosse coach is dealing with men and treating them a little bit differently than dealing with college boys.
Yeah.
So yeah, it'll be cool. I'm interested now to see where the other shoe
You know what?
falls.
The biggest thing I'm really excited for him is you might need someone to talk to Lyle, and not many people want to talk to a star player like that, right? So yeah, I think Coach Holman embraces that, but he also embraces watching his son play and watching Will and those guys and being close to that atmosphere. He knows what a good culture and a good chemistry could do for a team. I think that's going to translate there. I think he's going to find a good chemistry that will fit Lyle there.
Yeah, I think it'll be good when they trade for Marcus and Lyle can feed Marcus. I agree.
There you go. Exactly. I think Will Manny joins too.
I saw that the Cannons just released a few people on Twitter. Maybe they're making room for Marcus. Who knows? Conspiracy theory?
Yeah. Who was the release? Who did we get?
They released I don't know. I saw
anyone big?
No. This one kid I played with in Vail a couple years ago. That's why they popped out to me.
Okay.
That kid right now is like, dude. Hey, dickhead! My name is
Newbald. Shout out
Robert.
Andrew Newbald. They played with him.
My name is Robert.
All right, Andrew.
Great
There you
kid,
go.
great lacrosse player.
Give Andrew
Two-bomb
some
threat.
respect,
Two-bomb
man.
threat. He brings the noise. But I saw.
Talking about two-bomb threats. Let's talk about the Sixes tournament right now.
I'm going to call a timeout on you. Talk about two-bomb threats. We got one more announcement I'd like to make. Shout out to Ryan Brown on his retirement. That is the two-bomb threat I was thinking you were going to talk about. But congratulations to Ryan Brown on an unbelievable career. At Hopkins, playing in the pros, playing for Team USA. I mean, just an all-time, probably the world's greatest shooter, someone that can do it.
Well, let me tell you from my side, because I know Greg played with him as a teammate. So I'll tell you as a goalie that has played against him when he was on the Hounds and then played with him on the Atlas. I've never seen a guy smoothly shoot the ball from 3 different clock positions.
Both hands.
Dink. Because I could get a read on everyone I've ever played, and that's the one dude I never knew where the fuck it was going. That's it.
Dude, nobody did.
Right.
And what's crazy is how fluidly he caught it and ripped it both hands. And I remember, this is why I got on my pedestal after they announced the USA team. It said 2018 Team USA selected. No left-handed attackman. These guys aren't going to win. And then Ryan Brown just steps in like he's been a left-handed attackman his whole life. And the clinic he put on in that World Games, it was like watching a magic show. I couldn't believe, between him and Michael Earhart, it was some of the greatest lacrosse I've ever witnessed.
Greg, I used to push the point guy. So they would be a fast break, right? Charlotte would come down. I'd have our point guy. We'd actually play shorthanded. I'd have the point shut Brownie. He doesn't touch it. I'll take the wing shots. I'll take a 2-on-1 on the sides. I don't want that shot from the point ever released from him. That's how scary he was when he stretched. I mean, that's the respect right there enough for me.
Yeah. Brownie, all-time dude, too. All-time, locker room guy.
Yeah.
So congratulations to him on what's absolutely going to be a Hall of Fame career. Just nothing but respect for Brownie.
And back to what Scotty was getting into. We got the Sixes tournament coming up this week. We got Wednesday, February 22nd, it kicking off. We have a game on ESPN2. Love to see that. 5:30, some happy hour lax on Wednesday. I love it. I'm excited to see it. I'm excited to watch Sixes. I didn't really watch the Sixes tournament too much this summer besides highlights. So I'm excited to follow along and sit down and really just take in what a Sixes game really is. Is it going to look like I'm watching pickup lax, or 3x lax, or is it going to be, kind of structured like a real game? So I'm interested to just see what it's about to unfold. But Scotty, you got some news, right?
Yeah, I mean, I'll be there. I'll be, RJ and Paul shot me a text for my birthday. I was like, can't wait to see you. So I guess I'm going to sit with him on President's Row, which is the 50-yard line of the Sixers. So that should be good. I'm sure he'll bust my chops, but I'll get a good on-field look at how fast that thing is. I'm sure I will be crying for the goalies in that thing. I would not trade. I don't know. I don't even know how much money it is, but I will tell you, I would not be a happy man getting hit like that. But also, look at the two storylines I got for you. I got the Manny and the Holman connection, but I also have, this came out today, Brad Smith and Logan Wisnauskas are looking the most lethal right now from like what the people are showing as shooters in that new format.
13 yards, right?
That's surprising.
13-yard
It's
2-point line.
13.
Yeah, or 14. 13. So 13, Logan Wisnauskas turns into a 2-point threat now. And he shoots the ball very accurate. Brad Smith, that guy
He's a horse.
might
Dog.
level up.
Dog.
He already had a great summer outdoor in our rules. This Sixers might send him into almost like that tier of superstar that we call in our league.
You know, it's interesting. The two things that I'm excited to see is, one, guys who never take faceoffs taking the one faceoff per quarter, which will be, at least for faceoff guys, hysterical to watch.
Yeah.
Two, I love the 2-point line in the Sixes format because I feel like, one, it's a great equalizer. If you have the one team that's just better at the quick dip and dunk, playing the two-man game and scoring, things can get out of hand very quickly. But if you have that one hard shooter, but also from a strategy standpoint, do we take the twos or do we keep hammering home that extra pass and getting inside? It'll be very cool to watch.
I'll tell you, I talked to Romar Dennis. I worked at camp out in Arizona for the PLL youth games, and I talked to him a bit. And Ro and I have been teammates before, and I was like, yo, what's like kind of the philosophy? And he was like, Coach Brooks wants us to hammer twos. So it's like him, Brooksy's always been a shooter, so having Brooksy as your guy. And Greg, Brooksy played for that old guard of Coach Cottle, who said, take 25 twos a game, and maybe we get 3 or 4, but we're still better than we were. So I'm interested to see if Romar and Brian Costabile are just hammering the ball.
Romar rips 16-yard two-pointers on the run.
On the run, jumping. Right.
Jump shots.
Right.
Paints the corner at 130 miles an hour. You're putting him 13 yards away. That's somebody's son.
Dude, that's actually, if there's a bet for a underdog that's going to take over that thing, I think Romar might be the best player in that Sixers.
First of all, I've got a bone to pick with DraftKings because they're not letting me do the futures for the championship series.
Interesting.
Why not?
I was going to
identify the two
hammer the Atlas. Hammer the Atlas. Yeah. Atlas are my pick.
I have a question for both of you guys. As you know, people have played in the PLL, with this new wrinkle in the off season, how would winning this Sixers tournament compare to winning, the league in the summer? Is it just kind of like
two things. One, have we heard what the actual prize is?
I'm on the PLL website right now. I couldn't find anything.
If it was like a cash prize, like winning the All-Star game where everybody gets $1,000 or something, I think whatever.
I think they get a significant bump.
Yeah, but there is nothing like winning a full season, full playoffs. Like even the 20 bubble. Like I still don't look at that as a season. Like I was like a tournament. Yeah. So winning a series of 10 to 14 games with your team throughout the course of a summer, nothing compares.
And here's why, Sod. So the bubble, that's a great example for Greg, because I always thought like Paulie was shooting not well that tournament. And if in any other season, you go home, you reset, you could do your little mental shit for a slump, whatever it is. You usually get out of it, come back Friday, play Saturday, new person. You get this bubble, you get these short tournaments, you're kind of running on momentum. So like the team that's hot's going to stay hot. The team that comes out cold, it might not turn it around by Sunday. So you won't see the best.
And I, you know what? It's funny you bring that up, Scotty, because I remember saying that about the rookies, especially the face-off guys. Like I forever will feel terrible for Peyton Smith because he came in as a rookie. And same thing, you have like your first game as a rookie, and when you face off in any professional lacrosse game, always sucks. Because you're not used to the whistles, you're not used to the rules, whatever. You have like a week to break it down, practice, take reps, whatever. Nah, they're like, yep, tomorrow, next game. And it was, going through a blender. But yeah, I'm excited for this. Who are your guys' picks? Knowing very little, who are your guys' picks for this?
I'm still going I'm still going to roll with the Archers on this one. I love that those two guys are free agents, dude. I know I'm a homer when I'm friends with them, but those two guys, when they're pissed and hungry, they're like,
they're not free agents. They're going to the Cannons. Come on.
Whatever you want to call it, they're technically unsigned. So they're playing for their reputation, which is knowing those two guys, I would take the bet on them to make it count.
Yeah, I would not want to be playing against Manny and Holman this particular summer.
Because they're going to put up 30. They're not going to be a team that's like, oh, we're winning by 10. They're going to win by 20. Because I just know the way those two are competitively. It's like if they're feeling it, they're going to try to score as many goals as possible.
Yeah.
Who do you like, Greg?
I think the Atlas. I love Holman and Manny, but it's two guys.
Yeah.
And Schreiber can't play in it.
Yep.
So if Schreiber was playing, whole different conversation. But I feel like the Atlas have a wider group of guys that can hammer twos. And I also think that we have to take into account, defense. That's going to be a thing, hopefully. So, yeah, I just think the Atlas are built for this. My second pick would be the Chrome.
Yeah.
Mostly because they're at plus 800. But that would be my
you know why I do take the Chrome also too, if I was with you, because I like Scannoni's size in that fast-paced setting. As a goalie, it's not going to be about clean saves. I got to be honest. It's going to be about just getting a piece of something, and that's a guy that's got the body to get hit. And physical goalies do well in that kind of a smaller arena where it's almost like a box goalie. So smaller goalies, I feel very bad for.
Well, speaking of which, Berglor's out, right? Berglor has an abdominal injury
off the rip, right off the first practice.
Is Phipps in there for him now?
And Phippsy's an older guy like me. He's 34. I'm 30. I might be 35 now. And I'm telling you right now, that is volume that we are not used to.
Phipps is going to tear it up.
He is. But Phippsy might retire after the Sixes if he planned on playing a full summer. It might be a wrap after this.
Well, you guys know me. I'm going to roll with the Chrome. I think the Chrome roster is great because they have a lot of young guys that maybe didn't get a ton of opportunity this summer, but they also have a lot of guys that are two-way, I feel like someone like Justin Anderson, he's a beast getting up and down the field. Even Kevin Rogers getting up and down the field. Colin Heacock is going to have 1,000,000 2-pointers. 13 is well within his range.
Oh yeah,
yo, that would be a record. 1,000,000? That'd be a record.
Ever heard of a hyperbole? Come on. But no,
I have not.
I'm excited to watch. Like I mentioned, this schedule. We got a Wednesday night on ESPN2, and then we got 2 games Wednesday night, 2 games Thursday night, 2 games Friday night. Bunch of lacrosse coming up. That comes into my next point. Or do you guys, before we go into college, do you guys have any final thoughts on the Sixes? Any takeaways, or what you're most excited to see?
I'm just pumped to watch it. Lacrosse, I tweeted out today, I'm just excited to watch some Premier Lacrosse League. They also have some new jazzy helmets that they're throwing out there. So
I'm excited to go to the beer garden on Sunday. Yeah. Absolutely smoke.
Make sure if you're down there, hit up Scotty, challenge him in beer pong down in the beer garden. He's ready to rock. He's got the stroke down already. But like Greg mentioned, pumped that there's a lot of lacrosse. We have been just in the thick of it, and I've been watching a ton of lacrosse. I mentioned earlier I've been doing the play-by-play color commentating for Villanova, and it's been on Sundays, which has let me watch a decent amount of lacrosse on Saturdays. But, man, this college lacrosse season has been off to a crazy start. A lot of upsets, a lot of new powers kind of emerging. Shout out to Jacksonville for beating Duke again 2 years in a row. That's pretty big time for a program from down there. Just making
insider trading, bro. Insider trading. Galloway knows all these coaches there, and he fucking knows the system.
Scotty, I'm going to start with you. Because your Notre Dame Irish are off to a hot start. They just got ranked number 2. What do you think about Notre Dame's kind of schedule and kind of playing, not great out of conference teams, which kind of hurt them. If you go back to last year, they have a big test with Georgetown coming up. What do you think about kind of their schedule, going into this Georgetown game, their outlook on the season as a whole?
Bro, there's two things. Like, as a fan, you'd want to watch like a UNC Hopkins, like we got to watch early on, right? Like, that's so exciting to watch powerhouses play early. On the back end of that, you're trying to figure out your identity as a team. So for him, I know that he likes to go into this like lower, like he likes to ease into the season. And he knows it. Like, we even started with scrimmages when I was there. We would scrimmage Lemoyne and Mercyhurst, and no slight to them. They were great, but we would always get, to try to warm up and get some confidence, right? He wants guys to feel themselves. He wants freshmen to play. It's just how he does it, bro. And like I said, Coach Corrigan's very unapologetic to it. Like, he's not going to say, I'm sorry. He's like, this is what we do, and this is how we do it.
Dude, also, there's two other things people have to remember is financially and class-wise, to get to Notre Dame, to fly out to Indiana, Maryland can't just go do that as easily as, look, they're going to play Air Force every year. They're going to play Detroit Mercy every year. Those are easier flights. Those are easier trips. But the other part about it, too, is like to Scotty's point, Alabama doesn't apologize for playing Appalachian State or whatever. Why? Because they play in the SEC. Same thing here with Notre Dame. They're going to play against 4 top-tier teams
every week.
Every year.
And I think they play two of them twice.
Yeah. So for them, it's like,
yeah.
So, for them, it's like, you don't like our schedule, whatever.
And
like,
yeah. God.
I mean, they're gonna play enough teams where they can prove themselves. Now, I thought they did that last year, but like I said in our preseason episode, I'm riding this team because I think they have everything that you need to be a competitive Final Four team. And Will Lynch, I think, is taking that big step as a faceoff man in his second year, where he is going to be formidable enough to do the thing that everyone's always feared Notre Dame would do, which is get more possessions than you.
Yeah.
Because that was always the missing piece.
That's the most exciting team athletically and skill-wise that I've seen to date for us. I mean, I'm watching the highlights on Instagram going, some of the goals these guys are scoring on Notre Dame.
Scotty, I texted you. I was in the field house. I went to Notre Dame for their coaches clinic, their annual coaches clinic, and I watched a practice. And I texted Scotty. I go, dude, a ball hasn't hit the corner in 2 hours.
Yeah.
Like it didn't. It was like watching Pleasantville. It was just raining scores all over the place.
The talent,
and shooting drills.
Right?
And then their goalie, their defense is Notre Dame goalie and defense. Like they got it all. So it's going to be awesome to see how they make that step. I think number 2 is a very good spot for them.
On the other end of that, watching Syracuse play now, like we talked about the Joey Spallina thing last time. Listen, I knew the kid. It's like everything in sports. We jump down someone's throat right away. It's like, dude, what the kid? I saw a goal he scored, and I was like, holy shit! Right? It was on Virginia. The
goalie didn't even move. The goalie didn't know that it was shot.
So stupid. It was ridiculous. And that goalie's one of the best in the country, by the way. That kid Nunes is no slight.
The confidence to shoot that as a freshman is exactly why he went to Syracuse, to play for a guy who can do that and has proven it and is the GOAT, which is Gary Gate. So, yeah, very, very cool. And look, Scotty and I have known Joey since he was a tiny, tiny kid.
Yeah.
Like, he was built for this.
He wants all the smoke, family, bro. He wants all this shit. All this smoke, he's in on
all of it.
He's in.
Dude, and it's going to get even cooler for him because guess what? Next year, his twin brothers, his 2 twin little brothers are coming up. And
it's family,
they're going to be there too. That's going to be sick. So I feel like this Syracuse team is just 1 year away or 1 or 2 years away from being back, like fully on back.
Yeah.
I think that the pieces are there, but they're young this year. And
they're the goalie's what?
Probably going to be the worst face-off percentage team in the ACC this year. It just is what it is.
But the goalie, so we talked about that early on in our start of this podcast. You have both of those things, a stopper and a formidable face-off guy. You're probably going to win a lot of games. Now, if you get the good goaltending without the facing off, we've seen it in the PLL, you're always in it, but it's hard.
Always
so
in it.
the kid Will Marks, he was sick, bro. He's sick at LIU. They got him. He's a vet. He's an older guy. He's been impressive, dude. They haven't had goaltending like that in a while, since Johnny maybe. So I think they're going to be good there. Defensively, he'll cover up some of those lapses I think they have still. Petro, as Greg and I know him personally, that's going to be every week that he's going to work to get that unit better. But listen, at the end of the day, you have a guy that can stop the ball and bail you out. Sometimes that offense is always, they got enough talent or highly recruited players to be good at any moment, pop off. So that's going to be an exciting team always to watch. I hope it's not a seesaw every week to go, shit, oh shit, they beat someone. Oh shit, they lost to that team. I don't want it to be like that, but consistency would be a good thing. I want them to see the consistency.
No, but I agree with everything you guys said. I think this Syracuse team is super young. They have a great recruiting class. That kid Finn Thompson's great. But I want to kind of switch gears a little bit. And what's the biggest surprise been for you guys so far? And what I also want to bring up to you, Greg, is I saw your boy Jerry Raganese's tweet about the overtime faceoff in the Denver Duke game last week. What have you been thinking about that? Have you seen that?
Symes.
Symes, why do you do this?
I don't know what else to say at this point. It's there seems to be a situation that we've created in the sport where if you are the head of officials in the NCAA or in the PLL, you have full reign to this sport up as much as you want. We were watching on national television two kids lining up with the top of their heads touching each other over the ball. It basically was a women's draw control, but on the ground. And what are you going to do? Get mad at the kids for leaning? If I'm one of those kids, I'm like, dude, I'm not going to get pumped on national television because I'm not cheating as much as this kid.
Right.
So, yeah, look, as usual, it is what it is. But let's talk more about the fact that there's going to be surprises. I don't think I'm ever surprised anymore because, one, these are kids. We always forget that with college sports, that these are kids. And they are going to class. They're dealing with relationships. They're dealing with all this stuff. So when you come out and you go, oh, I can't believe this team did this. It's like, dude, you can't believe a bunch of 19-year-old kids fucked up? Like, so on any given day, that's what makes college sports so cool.
Well, Tuesday
it
game,
also is what makes it infuriating to bet for.
The Tuesday game is a little it's hard to get up for. You know how those were.
Hey man, you have a 9-page lab due on Wednesday. Yeah. Oh, we have a Tuesday game.
With the bus
oh,
ride.
By the way, it's on the road too.
With the bus ride.
Yeah, with the bus
2 a.m. It's fucking, dude. Tuesday games, midweek games in our sport. If you're gonna beat a giant, do it then, because there's no better time to knock someone off on a Tuesday in the middle of February where you're like, fuck, we're playing the number 2 team in the country, but guess what? Those guys are like, fuck, we just played Saturday. And they're sore, they're tired.
But also, you have to remember another thing. These kids are playing when it's Arctic out still. Mm-hmm. So, look, I can tell you right now, absolutely sucked in cold weather.
Me too.
Because I am a weather bitch.
I felt some
okay?
shit.
I hate the cold, and I went to Penn State to play in the mountains like an idiot. And luckily at Penn State, we always played inside when it was cold, so that's all good.
Yeah,
but these kids are going to be totally different once April rolls around and it gets warm out. Like, it's going to be a totally different kind of game. Also, their sticks will be dialed in, and they're also the chemistry, right? I feel like every year it usually takes the offense a little time to catch up to the defense, because for defense, it's just slides, recover, slide, recover. Offensively, look, we've all been on college lacrosse programs where you sit there, you go in like after Christmas break, you're like, yo, we're sick. Like, I think every year at Penn State, I can tell you, and this was before Tambroni Penn State.
I'm going to disagree with you, bro, on this theory of, I think now, when we played, I think it was that way. Offense was always ahead. I mean, defense was always ahead of offense. Right now, dude, I honestly feel like the offensive teams are not, the defense has to catch up and get that chemistry and that culture and that slide, because the scores I'm seeing early are fucking high. They're just so high right now. What do you think?
Well, you also have to remember the scores. Like Army today scored 20 goals against Wagner.
Yeah.
Okay.
But what about the Harvard UVA game? 25, 21. I know it's a little bit of an anomaly. But that's
Jerry
crazy.
Byrne is a defensive wizard. That should not happen.
So is Lars Tiffany.
That's fucking crazy. 25.
Maybe they're
21.
so good at coaching defense that they're now better at coaching offense.
But then to play devil's advocate, then you got I watched the full Georgetown Penn game, and I thought Georgetown's 0-2. They came into the season with a ton of hype. I still think they're an extremely good team. They've played Hopkins and they played Penn, two unbelievable opponents out the gate, and they played Notre Dame next. So that's a tough schedule coming out of the gates. But that Notre Dame,
it's interesting.
that Georgetown Penn game was 9-7, and I was like, this game sucks. Shot clock supposed to be exciting.
I used to play games that were 6-5.
Yeah, and everyone hated that. So,
good.
People also, this is another thing. I had a kid that I was coaching this weekend comment, and he was like, I can't believe Georgetown lost to Penn. I was like, you can't believe it? Why? They've played one game this season. Well, because they're ranked. I'm like, what's that ranking based on? How good of a year they had last year with completely different human beings? Right. So I think we forget, at the early part of the year, when we see quote unquote huge upsets, those are fabricated rankings. Our boys, Terry Foy and them, are sitting around going, yeah, this team's the second best in the country. And look, they're analysts and they do their thing, but the coaches and the media vote on this stuff. They haven't played any games yet. So who knows? So basically, this is all fabricated. Now, when you get to the midway point and after of the season, when the rankings work themselves out and you get a huge upset, that's a big deal. But right now, I'm not. I just enjoy the shit out of the first 4 to 5 weeks of college lacrosse every year because I'm
listen.
I want to see who's there and who's not.
In theory, Sibes, if you're going on this today, Loyola's resume to get in the playoffs is a lock. They're done. They don't have to do anything except to win the games they should for the rest of the season because their RPI, they already beat 2 strength of schedule to opponents that were outrageous. So they literally, but guess what Loyola will do because we're talking about kids. Loyola will lose to Bucknell. They will lose to Army. They'll lose to Hobart. And then they're sitting in a shuffle where they're trying to get in. That's the beauty of college lacrosse in a nutshell.
Yo, and shout out to Army right now.
Yeah.
They look great.
Ticking, bro. That coach is the
Will
best.
Coletti. Shout out to Will Coletti, the face-off guy for Army. Kicking ass right now. That kid keeps developing. He could be an absolute.
That's my favorite coach I've never played for. Coach Alberici.
Alberici?
I would fucking run through a wall for that guy.
Phenomenal human being. Yeah. Coach Alberici, phenomenal guy. I'm actually very excited for the Army-Navy game this year. I think it's going to be an absolute bloodbath.
I love that. Those two coaches, bro. Amps. I'm good friends with Amp.
Two beauties.
They're beauties, bro. That's great.
That's great. Scotty, that's such a good point you made about Loyola, right? They play Rutgers next. If they beat Rutgers, right, they've basically punched their ticket 3 games in.
You also have to remember something else, though. Those teams also need to continue to be who we think they are.
Correct. And I think Maryland will.
Rutgers just lost to Army.
Maryland will. I think Maryland's good.
And then Hopkins
getting it right.
Yeah, I feel like that Maryland's one of those situations where they got woken up a little bit and Tillman gave them the old, hey, you don't get to just show up and win type of talk. But I think Maryland's going to be totally fine.
I just, like you said,
can I ask for something, though? Can I ask for something?
Sure.
I'm not talking to you guys right now. Cascade, can you guys make a chrome dark green helmet? Because I don't want to see mint green on Loyola anymore. It doesn't match their uniforms at all. God, I know they're kicking ass with that helmet, but I'm so confused when I watch it.
Unbelievable. You're coming for huge equipment sponsors. We're coming for the head of referees. Who else are we going to come for here?
No one knows yet.
Choose the violence.
No one's safe today.
Choose the violence, brother.
No one's safe today.
Some big games coming up, though. I mentioned Georgetown, Notre Dame, Penn, Duke, Syracuse, UNC, UVA, OSU. Our boy Mitchell has a big game against his dad's alma mater. Loyola versus Rutgers, we just mentioned. And then my Villanova Wildcats are taking on number 10 Delaware. And Greg's Nittany Lions are taking on number 5, 6 Yale, who just gave it to Villanova, and Penn State beat Yale last year. What game are you guys most excited for coming up?
You say number 10? You said number 10 Delaware. I love Delaware.
Yeah.
Great school. Been there to party.
DeLuca, great coach.
But guess what?
Tax-free shopping.
They're great. But guess what? That's a game that maybe you might get your upset from the Nova boys.
I wouldn't even call it an upset. Villanova's beat Delaware.
Villanova
beat Delaware the past 6 years.
Yale game. I thought Nova looked great, actually, up until the end of that Yale game. I thought they looked very good. I actually felt very good about their chances. I think Villanova's pretty good.
They
this
ran
year.
out of steam. Yeah, I agree.
But so
I'm very excited.
Let's talk about those preseason rankings.
I think Ohio State Notre Dame is a potential Final Four matchup.
Yeah, but I'm starting to get a little now pissed off about preseason. I'm starting to get pissed off about early rankings. I don't think we should rank teams until 5 weeks through. And 5 weeks through,
Jesus, you're coming for everybody today. Now you're yelling at preseason rankings.
No, because think about that. Him just saying Delaware's 10. I love Delaware, bro. Delaware's great. But guess what? Now that if Villanova gets that win, that RPI rank in the what Notre Dame getting left out last year, because that happened in February where Nova beat number 10 Delaware. Who the fuck ranked Delaware number 10?
If Delaware loses all the rest of the season, that's no longer a number 10 win. It's only a number 10 win in week 3.
They won't be unless they go undefeated in the CAA, which is like super impossible because that conference is a slobber knocker.
It's the toughest conference, like blue collar wise. The CAA is
the
hard hat in
the bluest possible collar.
You know what Nads used to call it? The Criminal Athletic Association. He used to say, bro, these guys, he goes, we got guys like on UMass who were fucking like punching you in the face rather than get the ground ball. They're like, think. You're like, holy shit.
That is phenomenal. Criminal Athletic Association.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
Who said that, Nads? Oh, it's so good. I think look, also St. Joe's. Still waiting for St. Joe's to beat a good team. I hope they're as good as I think they're 11 right now. And I was looking at like all the teams that are below them, and I'm just like, whoa, man.
But it's a budget. That comes back to what you were just saying about budget. St. Joe's doesn't have the money to fly anywhere. It's like we won't see them play anyone because they can't really book that out of conference schedule until they just have to do what they do. They just
aren't they in the Atlantic 10 now? Who's in the Atlantic 10?
They are in the A10. And
that's an actual question.
So is UMass.
The conferences got realigned.
Yeah, UMass is in the A10. They moved over. Let me pull it up for you guys real quick.
And there's an AQ.
I did not know UMass left
in that?
The CAA.
There's an AQ in that A10?
Yeah. There's an AQ. Yes.
So
wait, I thought you had to be like a conference for 2 years before that happened.
I'm not positive.
I don't know the rules
A10
anymore.
is St. Joe's, UMass, High Point, Hobart, Richmond, and St. Bonaventures. The toughest team on St. Joe's schedule, in my opinion, is Johns Hopkins and Penn and Duke. They played 3 good teams.
Look, if they beat any of those 3 teams, I'm like, dude, awesome.
Yeah.
I love Taylor Ray. I love everything he's done there.
Watching
I'm just still waiting for somebody to explain to me what 11 ranking.
Is it based on what? Them going to
the
and none of these teams
and they beat Towson 16-13.
Well, they went to. Did they go to? They went to the quarters or the Final Four last year.
They lost by a goal to Yale last year in the first round.
That was fucking. I watched that game. That was a fucking magnificent game.
A lot of goals.
I loved watching. That was entertaining. Yeah, that was a great game.
Well, and that's one of those things where I think a lot of that team came back this year. They still have Zach Cole, who's one of the better face-off guys in the country. And I think for them, it's like, if you're ranking these guys, you're like, all right, look, they haven't lost yet. And they had a great season last year. So, 11's fair until proven otherwise, I guess.
I agree.
Yeah.
No, I think that's the whole point. Because once it gets, like you said, it all sorts itself out. And this season, I think at the end of the day, it's because there's parity. A lot of these teams that are notoriously 20-40 are starting to play up to teams that are, 8-20. I think the top 8 are still, at the end of the day, those teams that are the final 8 teams are still a little bit head and shoulders better than, the rest of the field. And it's usually probably the same group of, 8 to 10 teams. But I think the point is that back end of the top 20, a lot of those teams above them are creeping in or catching up to them and can play with all of them.
It's not the old guard anymore. There's everyone like St. Joe's being 11, Delaware being 10. That's awesome for the sport. And it's like watching UNC be unranked playing Hop is like, whoa. That was like a big win for that team,
Yeah. No, I'm excited to see how things shape up. I love the fact that you have the Jacksonvilles, the St. Joe's. Like, I love that there's, we're getting more teams in the mix rather than the old, the same old. So, yeah, bring it on, man. I love college lacrosse. I love seeing superstars that are born right in front of our eyes. It's the coolest part about it.
I'll say one thing, though. Like, just like I value college football. When I look at the college football rankings every week, I look 1 through 7. And then I go, everything under that, that's awesome, but I don't give a shit. So, listen, you're number 25. 25, I'm happy you made the 25 this week. That's like, fuck, what does that mean? It's like.
Yeah, well, you know what, though? 2 years from now, you're going to care about the top 12 teams.
Well, I'm not there yet.
College football.
I gotta live through another year first.
Well, I love that Greg and I are making a college lax fan out of Scotty again. And he's getting back sucked in. He's watching games. He's cheering on. He's getting passionate about it. I love seeing that fire in him. Fellas, fantastic episode as always. What a blast it was having Mitchell on, talking Sixes, talking college. Next time you guys tune in and listen to us, we will have updates from the Sixes tournament. We got Scotty with his boots on the ground. If you're down there, go up and say hello for sure. We'll have updates with these big upcoming college lacrosse games, and we will see how these rankings sort out. Like we said, how crazy is this college lacrosse season? We will find out. But make sure you tune in, because this is your source for all things lacrosse. Subscribe to us on Spotify, subscribe to us on Apple Music, and subscribe to the TorchPro YouTube channel. Fellas, episode 20 is in the books.
Booyah! To the moon!